The city was bright with lights. Tall towers stood like giants in the night. Cars moved fast on wide roads, and people were busy with their own lives. In one of those tall glass buildings lived a wealthy man. He was a single father. He had money, he had power, he had everything that people usually dream about. But inside his heart there was silence, there was loneliness. He lived with his little son who was the only joy in his life. The father was strict. He believed money could solve all problems. He worked hard and gave his son the best clothes, the best toys, the best school, but still, something was missing. The boy often looked out of the window, wishing for someone to talk to, wishing for someone who could understand him in a simple way, not through books or teachers, but through real heart. One afternoon, the father returned home earlier than usual. He had a heavy day at work. He wanted silence. But as he walked through the garden path, he heard laughter, pure and free. The laughter of his son. The sound was different. Not the usual lonely play. It was filled with joy, as if someone had opened a door to a secret world. The father stopped. He looked carefully from behind the wall. His eyes widened. His son was sitting on the grass with a strange girl. Her clothes were old and torn. Her hair was messy. She looked like she had been living on the streets, but there was something unusual about her. Her eyes. They were bright like stars, as if the night sky had been captured inside them. She was drawing shapes on the ground with a stick. The boy listened with full attention. She spoke slowly, explaining things with ease. She talked about the sun, about the planets, about the way shadows move when light touches them. Her words were simple yet full of wisdom. The boy laughed and asked questions, and she answered like a teacher from another world. The father felt a wave of anger. Who was this stranger in his garden? How did she enter his home? But then something stopped him, the way she spoke. The way his son looked at her with shining eyes. He had never seen his boy so alive, not even with expensive tutors or fancy schools. Still, his mind was full of doubt. He whispered to himself, "Who is this girl? Is she dangerous? Is she tricking my son?" But another voice in his heart asked, "Or is she something else? Something beyond what I can understand?" He noticed her movements, calm and graceful. Not like a normal street child. Her knowledge was too deep, her eyes too strange. The way she explained stars was not from books. It was as if she had seen them closely with her own eyes. The boy clapped and said, "Teach me more, please." And she smiled, a soft, gentle smile. She spoke of places beyond the sky, of worlds where rivers flowed with silver light, of creatures that could sing like music. The father felt a chill. Her words were too real, too detailed, as if she was describing her own home. His breath grew heavy. He stepped back. His heart was racing. Should he stop this at once? Should he call the guards? But curiosity held him tight. He wanted to know more. He wanted to hear her speak. Minutes turned into an hour. The boy was learning, laughing, forgetting his loneliness. The girl seemed to carry no fear, no greed, only kindness and knowledge. Still, the father could not shake the feeling that she was not ordinary. She did not belong to this city, maybe not even to this planet. As the sun began to set, the garden turned golden. The girl stood up. She looked at the sky as if searching for something far away. Her face became sad. The boy asked her why. She replied in a soft voice, "I am far from home, but I found a friend today." The father's eyes narrowed. Her words touched him but also scared him. What did she mean? Far from home? Was she a runaway? Was she hiding from someone? Or was her truth much stranger? The wind grew stronger. The trees whispered. And for the first time in years, the father felt small. He felt like there was a mystery bigger than his money, bigger than his city, standing right there in his garden. He clenched his fists. His mind shouted, "I must know who she is. I must protect my son." But deep inside, a quiet thought grew. What if she is not here to harm? What if she is here to change everything? That night, the father could not sleep. He sat by the window watching the garden. The memory of her shining eyes burned in his thoughts. He had built walls of wealth and pride around his life, but now a homeless girl, a stranger, maybe even something beyond human, had entered his world, and he could feel it. Nothing would be the same again. And so the story began. A single father, a lonely son, and a mysterious girl with eyes like stars. Their paths had crossed by fate, and the world was about to change forever. The next morning was bright. The father sat at the long breakfast table, but he could not taste the food. His mind was still stuck on the strange girl in the garden. He had money. He had control over many things, yet he could not control the mystery that had entered his house. His son sat across from him, smiling to himself, as if carrying a secret treasure in his heart. The father cleared his throat and asked, Who was that girl yesterday? The boy's eyes lit up. He said, "She is my friend. She knows so many things. She teaches better than my school. She is kind. She listens." The father frowned. He asked again, "Where did she come from?" But the boy only shrugged and said, "She is just here like magic." Later that afternoon, the father returned home early once again, his curiosity too heavy to ignore. He walked to the garden, and there she was, the same homeless girl with torn clothes and starry eyes, sitting with his son, teaching him numbers, drawing strange patterns in the dirt. This time the father did not hide. He walked straight to them, his footsteps strong. The boy looked up and smiled. "Father, come, she is teaching me." The girl turned slowly. Her eyes met the father's eyes, calm and steady, not afraid, not ashamed. The father spoke sharply, "Who are you? Why are you here?" The girl lowered her gaze for a moment, then said softly, "I am no one important. I have no home, no family. I only teach because your son is kind." The father's voice grew harder. "You are trespassing. You cannot just walk into my house. You cannot play with my child," the boy protested. "Father, please, she is good. She is not bad, she helps me." The father looked closer. Something about her face was different. Too clear, too smooth, her eyes too deep. He asked coldly, "Are you human?" The garden fell silent. The girl raised her head again, and with no fear, she whispered, "No." The boy gasped, his eyes wide with wonder. The father froze. The girl continued, "I am not from here, not from this city, not from this world. I lost my home, I lost my people. I have been hiding, learning your ways, surviving with nothing." The father's heart pounded. He thought she was lying, maybe a street child with strange ideas. But then she stretched her hand and picked a leaf. She held it up, and she described its inner structure, its growth, its life cycle in perfect detail. Like a scientist, her words flowed with certainty, as if she could see the truth inside the leaf itself. The boy clapped, amazed. The father's breath grew heavy. He whispered, "Impossible. How do you know all this?" The girl looked up at the sky, her eyes shining. "Because I have seen the forests of other worlds. I have touched rivers not of earth. I have walked under suns that are not yours." The father stepped back. He shook his head. His mind screamed that it was madness, yet his heart felt the weight of her words. The boy tugged at his sleeve and said, "Father, she is telling the truth. Can you not feel it?" The father tried to stand firm. He said, "If you are not human, then what are you doing here? Why come to my son?" The girl's voice trembled. "I am hunted. I escaped from those who wanted to use me. I hid in your streets. I had no one. Then I saw your son. Alone, his heart open, he was not afraid. He welcomed me, so I taught him." The father's anger mixed with fear. Hunted, he thought. Who is after her? What danger could come here? He looked at the garden walls as if shadows might leap over them. He wanted to push her away, to keep his son safe. But when he looked at his boy's eyes, glowing with joy and trust, his heart wavered. The girl stood slowly. She said, "If you want me gone, I will go. I will never harm your child. He is my only friend." The boy grabbed her hand tightly and cried, "No, don't go. Please stay." The father's chest tightened. He saw his son's tears. He saw the calm in the girl's face. She had nothing, yet she carried more strength than many adults he knew. She spoke truth without fear. She carried wisdom without pride. He sighed deeply, his voice low. "Stay for now. But only under my eyes. One wrong move and you are gone." The girl nodded, her strange eyes glowing softly. The father turned away, but his mind was burning. What had he allowed into his house? Was she a gift or a curse? Was she a danger or a blessing? He did not know. But as the night came and he saw his son smiling in his sleep, whispering in dreams about stars and adventures, the father realized something. This girl, whether alien or human, had already changed everything. And the true story was only beginning. Days began to pass. The strange girl did not leave. She stayed near the garden, sometimes sitting quietly under the trees, sometimes teaching the boy with patience. Her voice was soft, her words simple, yet the knowledge inside them felt bigger than the world itself. The boy's eyes always shined when she spoke. His laughter filled the empty halls of the mansion. The father watched from the windows, his heart torn. He was a man of wealth, a man of control. He had built walls of power around his life, yet none of his teachers, none of his tutors, none of his expensive plans had given his son the joy this girl brought with nothing but her presence. She taught the boy numbers in new ways, not just from books but through patterns in nature. She showed him how flowers opened with the sun, how shadows moved like a clock, how stars told stories in the night sky. The boy learned with excitement, as if every lesson was an adventure. The father wanted to stay cold, to stay distant, But each day his heart softened. He would hear them laughing in the garden. He would see his son running with joy, and he knew deep inside that the girl was giving something he himself could not. One evening, the boy asked his father, "Why do people only care about money? Why do they not care about hearts?" The father froze. He had no answer. He looked at his son, and then at the girl who sat silently, her strange eyes glowing in the moonlight. She did not speak, but her calm face carried the answer. The father began to notice other things too. Whenever the girl spoke of stars or planets, it was not like repeating lessons, it was like remembering. Her words carried memory, not imagination. She described colors of skies not on earth, winds that sang instead of blowing, oceans that sparkled like mirrors. The boy listened with awe, and even the father felt small, as if he too was learning for the first time. But not everything was safe. In the city, strange rumors began to spread. Men in dark suits were asking questions, searching alleys, watching from black cars. They whispered of something unusual, something not human, hiding among them. The father noticed their presence near his neighborhood. His sharp instincts told him they were looking for the girl. The girl herself knew it too one night when the boy was asleep. She sat in the garden, looking at the stars with sadness. The father approached her quietly. He asked, "Why are they searching for you? What did you escape from?" Her voice trembled. She said, "I was trapped. They wanted to use me. They wanted to study me like an object. I ran away, I hid, I survived." The father's chest grew heavy. He had built his life on power, on control, but now he felt powerless. He asked, "Why did you come to my son?" The girl turned to him, her eyes deep and clear. "Because he was pure," she said. "His heart was open. He did not fear me. He did not see a monster. He saw a friend." Those words cut deep into the father's soul. He remembered his own past, how he had lost people because of pride, because of coldness, and now his son had shown more kindness than he ever had. The bond between the boy and the girl grew stronger each day. They played, they learned, they shared secrets, and the father, though afraid, began to feel something he had not felt in years. Hope yet danger was close one afternoon. While returning from his office, the father saw a black car parked near his mansion gates. Two men stood watching, their eyes sharp. He knew they were hunters. He knew they were searching for her. He felt anger rise, anger not for himself, but for the child who was not even his, yet had become part of his life. That night he locked the doors tighter. He told the girl, "You must be careful. You cannot let anyone see you." She nodded silently, but her eyes showed no fear. Instead, they showed trust. She trusted him, and that trust shook his heart. The boy, too innocent to understand danger, only cared that his friend stayed close. He told his father, "She is my best friend. Don't let anyone take her away." The father looked at his son's pleading face and made a silent vow. No matter what, he would not let anyone harm her. And so the secret bond was sealed. A lonely boy, a homeless alien girl, and a wealthy father who never thought he would care. Their lives were tied together. The world outside might be full of shadows, but inside the garden for a little while there was light. The father lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, his thoughts heavy. He knew danger was coming. He knew the hunters would not stop. But he also knew something else. This girl, this strange being, was not just teaching his son, she was teaching him too, teaching him what it truly meant to be human. And in that quiet moment, with fear outside and hope inside, the father understood one truth. Their lives would never be the same again. The bond was too strong, and it was only the beginning of a much greater story. The days of peace did not last long. The father noticed it first. Black cars parked too often near his mansion gates, men in suits walking slowly on the street, pretending to be strangers, but their eyes always sharp, always watching. The father had lived in the world of business long enough to recognize hunters. These were not ordinary men. They were searching, waiting. The boy was too innocent to notice. He kept playing with the alien girl in the garden, laughing, learning, sharing stories. The sound of his joy filled the house. But outside the walls, danger was crawling closer. One evening, the father sat in his study. The girl stood quietly at the door, her face calm but her eyes heavy. She said softly, "They are coming. I can feel them. They are looking for me." The father leaned back in his chair, his heart beating faster. He asked, "Who are they? Why are they after you?" The girl stepped into the room, the soft light falling on her strange eyes. She spoke slowly. "I was taken by them, kept in a place full of walls and lights. They studied me. They wanted to use me, to turn me into a tool. Not a person. I escaped, I ran, I hid, but they never stopped chasing me." The father's chest tightened. His world of money and power felt small. Useless, he whispered, and if they find you, what will they do? The girl's voice broke for the first time. They will destroy me, or worse, they will control me. Make me into something I am not. The father stood quickly, his hands clenched. For years he had lived selfishly, caring only for himself and his son, but now his anger was burning not for himself, but for her. She was just a child, alone, hunted. He could not let them take her, not after seeing the way she brought light into his son's heart. That night the father did not sleep. He walked through the halls of his mansion, checking doors, watching windows. The garden was silent. The boy slept peacefully. The girl sat awake, her eyes fixed on the stars as if asking them for protection. The next day shadows grew closer. When the father drove to his office, he saw the same black car following him when he returned. The same men were standing near the park across the street. Their faces hard, their eyes cold. He knew they were not giving up. At dinner, the boy spoke happily. He told stories of what the girl had taught him, but the father barely listened. His mind was racing. He thought about guards, about security systems, but deep inside he knew money could not protect them. The danger was bigger, darker. Later that evening, the father called the girl into his study again. His voice was heavy. If they are this close, we cannot stay still. We must prepare. But the girl only shook her head. Her calmness unbroken, she said, "Running will not save me forever. Hiding will not change their hunt." The father's frustration grew. He slammed his hand on the desk. "Then what? What can we do? I cannot risk my son." The girl looked at him with eyes that seemed older than time. She whispered, "You must decide. Protect only yourself or protect something greater." Those words cut deep into his heart. He had built his life on selfish choices. But now, for the first time, he was being asked to risk everything. Not for money, not for power, but for life itself. The bond between the boy and the girl only grew stronger. They would sit under the moon, talking about stars, laughing at small jokes, sharing secrets. The father watched. Torn between fear and hope, he could see the hunters in his mind, closing in step by step. But he could also see the truth. His son was happier, stronger, braver than ever before, all because of her. One late night, the father looked out the window and saw a figure across the street, standing still watching, the light from a cigarette glowing faintly. His blood ran cold. They were not just near, they were here. Waiting for the right moment, he rushed to the girl. He said firmly, "You must be ready, they are here." She looked at him and nodded calmly, but then she added, "Do not fear for me. Fear for yourself, for once they know you are protecting me, they will not stop at me. They will come for you, for your son, for everything you love." The father's face hardened. He had fought battles in boardrooms, but this was different. This was war, and it was not about money, it was about survival. He looked at his son, sleeping peacefully, holding the strange crystal the girl had given him, and he made a silent promise. No matter the cost, he would protect them both. Outside, the shadows deepened. The hunters were moving closer, their search growing sharper. The walls of the mansion no longer felt safe. The air carried tension like a storm waiting to break. And as the night fell heavier, the father stood at the window. His reflection staring back, he whispered to himself, "The world thinks I am powerful, but true power is not in wealth. It is in what you are willing to protect. And now I will protect them, even if it destroys me." The shadows were closing in. The hunters were near. And the real fight had only just begun. The night was heavy with silence. The father sat in his study, the ticking clock echoing in the room. His son slept upstairs, safe for now. The strange alien girl sat quietly in the garden, her eyes fixed on the stars as if calling to them. But the father's heart was not at peace. He felt torn in two. On one side was fear, the men outside, the hunters, the danger that grew closer every day. He knew they would not stop until they found her, until they dragged her away and maybe destroyed everything in their path. On the other side was something new, something he had not felt in years. A sense of duty, a desire to protect. He whispered to himself, "What am I doing? She is not my child, not my blood, not even human, yet I am risking everything. Why?" But then he thought of his son. He remembered the boy's smile, the light in his eyes when he learned from her, the laughter that had returned to this house because of her. The father closed his eyes. He remembered his own mistakes, his failures as a parent. He had given his son wealth, but not warmth. He had given him a mansion, but not a family. Now this strange girl had brought love, kindness, and strength into his boy's life, something he himself had failed to give. The dilemma grew heavier. Should he protect the girl and risk everything, or should he push her away, keep his son safe behind walls of money and security? His mind told him to be logical, to send her away before the hunters came crashing into his life. But his heart told him something else. It told him that if he sent her away, he would lose more than just a stranger. He would lose the very soul of his son. The next morning he tried to speak to his boy. He said, "If she leaves, you will be safe. You will still have me. You will still have everything." But the boy shook his head with tears in his eyes. He cried, "No, father, if she leaves, I will lose my friend. She is not dangerous, she is good. Please don't send her away." The father's chest ached. He wanted to hold his son and say yes to everything, but he also knew the danger was real. He felt trapped. No choice seemed right. Later that day, the girl approached him. Her eyes calm, she said softly, "I will leave if you want me to. I will not bring danger to your house." The father looked at her, shocked. She spoke with no fear, no selfishness, only honesty. And that honesty struck him like a sword. He asked quietly, "If you leave, where will you go?" The girl shrugged, "Anywhere, nowhere. It does not matter, I always survive." The father clenched his fists. He hated her answer. He hated the thought of her wandering alone, hunted, destroyed, but most of all, he hated the thought of his son's heart breaking. That night, he walked through the empty halls of his mansion. The paintings on the walls, the gold, the marble floors all felt meaningless. None of it could protect his child's happiness. None of it could replace the bond that had formed between the boy and the girl. His decision became clearer with every step. He could not betray his son. He could not betray the bond they had built. He whispered to himself, "I will protect her." No matter what, the next day he began to prepare. He used his wealth to create false trails. He called in favors from people he trusted. He paid men to spread rumors, to mislead the hunters. He told his staff to keep silent. He built walls not just of stone but of lies and shadows, all to hide the girl. The boy noticed his father working late. Looking more serious than ever, he asked, "Are you angry, father?" The father placed his hand on the boy's shoulder and shook his head. "No, I am not angry. I am fighting for you, for her, for us." But even as he prepared, fear still gnawed at him. One wrong step, one mistake, and everything could be lost. He lay awake at night, imagining men in black breaking into his home, dragging her away, dragging his son away. He gritted his teeth and swore he would never let it happen. The girl seemed calm through it all. She still taught the boy, still smiled, still looked at the stars, but when she looked at the father, he could see it in her eyes. She knew the danger. She knew the risk he was taking, and she respected him for it. The father felt something he had not felt in years. Pride, not pride in wealth, not pride in power, but pride in being more than just a rich man. Pride in being a protector, a father, still. The dilemma never fully left him. Each day the shadows outside grew darker. Each day the hunters came closer. He was risking not just money but his life. His son's safety, everything, but now he knew. Some things are worth more than safety. Some things are worth fighting for, and so, with fear in his heart but fire in his soul, the father made his choice. He would protect the girl. He would protect his son, even if the world turned against him. The father's dilemma was no longer a question. It had become his destiny. The storm finally arrived. The night was dark, the air heavy. The mansion stood silent under the silver moon. Inside, the boy slept peacefully, holding the crystal the girl had given him. But the father and the alien girl were wide awake. Both of them could feel it. The hunters were near. The father had prepared for days. False trails, silent guards, locked doors. But he knew it would not be enough. The men outside were not ordinary men. They were trained, they were ruthless, they wanted the girl at any cost. Suddenly the sound came, engines humming, black cars sliding to a stop outside the gates, shadows moving fast, men in suits spreading across the lawn like wolves. The father's heart pounded. He rushed to his son's room, shaking him gently. "Wake up, we must go." The boy blinked in confusion. "Father, what is happening?" Before he could answer, the girl appeared at the door, her strange eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She said calmly, "They are here, we must move now." The father grabbed his son's hand. He whispered, "Stay close to me, do not let go." The mansion lights flickered as if the shadows themselves were pressing against the walls. Voices echoed outside, orders shouted, footsteps heavy. They were surrounding the house. The father felt fear tighten around his chest, but he pushed it down. This was no time for fear. This was the time to fight. He led them through the halls, down to a hidden door behind the library. Years ago, he had built tunnels under the mansion, meant as escape routes for business threats. Now they were the only chance for survival. He pulled the hidden lever. The bookshelf shifted, revealing a dark passage. The boy gasped, eyes wide, but the girl only nodded. As if she had known all along this moment would come. They stepped inside, the air cold, the tunnel narrow. The father closed the door behind them, just as glass shattered upstairs. The hunters had entered. The sound of boots thundered above. Men shouting, searching room by room. The father pushed forward, his hand tight on his son's, his other hand gripping a flashlight. Every step echoing like a drum of fear. The girl walked close, her eyes glowing in the dark, guiding them with a strange calmness. But the hunters were fast. They discovered the passage. Their shouts grew louder. Their boots clanged against the metal floors of the tunnel. They were chasing. The father's heart raced. He whispered, "Faster, we must move faster." The boy stumbled. The father lifted him in his arms. Sweat pouring down his face, the tunnel twisted and turned, leading them deeper underground. Suddenly, a loud sound exploded behind them. The hunters were blasting the doors open. Sparks flying, the girl turned, her voice firm. "Keep going. I will slow them down," but the father snapped. "No, you stay with us, we survived together." Her eyes softened, she nodded, and they kept moving. Finally, they reached another hidden door. The father pressed his hand against a scanner. The old mechanism creaked open, revealing the forest outside the mansion walls. The night air hit their faces, cold and sharp. Freedom was close, but danger was closer, the boy whispered. "Father, they are coming." The father turned and saw lights in the tunnel behind them. Shadows rushing closer, guns raised, no time left. He pushed his son and the girl forward, shouting, "Run!" They sprinted into the forest, branches snapping under their feet. The father's lungs burned, the boy clung to his hand. The girl moved like the wind, silent and fast, but the hunters followed, their lights cutting through the darkness. Their voices sharp, the father's heart screamed. He had never run for his life before. He had never risked everything, but now he was willing to lose it all. For his son, for the girl, for the chance to keep them safe. As they reached a clearing, drones appeared in the sky, buzzing like metal insects, their red eyes glowing, searching the ground. The father cursed under his breath. They had no place to hide, but the girl stepped forward, her hands glowing faintly with a strange light. She whispered something in a language unknown, and suddenly the drones flickered. Their lights dimmed. Then they fell from the sky, crashing into the trees. The father stared in shock, his son gasped in awe. The girl turned to them and said, "My people left me tools, small gifts, but they will not last. We must keep moving." The forest grew thicker, the night deeper. The hunters' voices faded slowly behind them, but the father knew it was not victory. It was only survival for the moment. They would keep coming, they would never stop. Finally, they reached an old cabin hidden in the woods. One of the father's secret properties. He pushed the door open, dust filling the air, but it was shelter. It was safety for now. He closed the door, locking it tight, his chest heaving, his son trembling in his arms. The girl stood by the window, her eyes on the dark forest. She whispered, "They will come again. They will not give up." The father nodded, his jaw set. "Then let them come, we will be ready." For the first time he felt not just fear but strength. He was no longer just a rich man hiding behind walls. He was a father, a protector, a fighter, and tonight he had chosen his side. The escape was not the end. It was only the beginning of the war that was coming. The old cabin was quiet. The wind whispered through the broken windows. The boy slept on a blanket, his chest rising gently, his small hand still gripping the glowing crystal. The father sat near the door with a tired face, his eyes heavy but alert. The girl stood by the window, watching the dark forest, her strange eyes reflecting the moonlight. They had escaped, but not defeated the hunters. The father knew it. The girl knew it. The danger was not gone, it was only waiting, and yet, in the silence of that night, something was changing. The father looked at the girl, he whispered, "I cannot protect you forever, my money, my houses, my walls. They are nothing against what hunts you." Her voice was calm. "I never asked for forever. I only asked for a chance to live, a chance to give." The father's heart tightened. Her words were simple but carried a weight greater than gold. The boy stirred in his sleep, whispering in dreams. Stars, rivers of light, flying ships. His father stroked his hair gently, his eyes soft. He realized his son was no longer the same lonely boy. The girl had changed him, given him courage, wonder, and hope. Suddenly, a faint sound came from the crystal in the boy's hand. A soft pulse like a heartbeat glowing brighter, the girl gasped, her voice trembling. "It is answering. It is waking." The father leaned forward. "What do you mean?" The girl held the crystal carefully, her hands shaking. "This is not just a stone. It is a beacon, a signal. It calls to my people. For years it was silent, but now it speaks. They have heard me, they are coming. The father's breath caught, his mind swirled. Her people, other beings, other worlds. He could hardly believe it, yet deep down he knew it was true. The crystal pulsed again, brighter and stronger. Casting silver light across the cabin walls, hours passed, the night grew colder. But the light grew stronger. Then the ground trembled softly. The boy woke with wide eyes. Father, what is happening? The girl looked at him with tears shining in her starry eyes. My family, my people, they are near. The father stepped outside, his breath freezing in the cold air, and then he saw it, high above the forest. The clouds split apart, a great shadow appeared, silent, massive, a ship, its surface glowing with silver lines, its size greater than any human machine. It floated like a ghost in the sky, hidden from the world but clear to their eyes. The boy gasped in awe, the father stood frozen. The girl whispered, "They have come for me." Lights descended from the ship, beams of pure white touching the forest. The air hummed with energy. The girl stepped forward, her face both joyful and sad. She turned to the boy, kneeling down, she said, "You gave me a home when I had none. You gave me a friend when I was lost. I will never forget you." The boy clung to her, tears in his eyes. "Don't go, please stay," she smiled softly. "I must go. But this is not the end. I will return." The boy shook his head, his small arms tight around her. The father felt his throat ache, his chest heavy. He wanted to speak, but words would not come. The girl stood, her eyes meeting the father's. She said, "You gave me more than safety. You gave me trust. You showed me that even in a world full of fear, there is kindness, there is love." The father whispered hoarsely, "I only did what was right." She shook her head gently. "No, you did what was human, truly human." The beams of light grew brighter. Calling her, she stepped forward slowly. The boy cried out, "Father, stop her, don't let her go." But the father placed his hand on his son's shoulder, his voice breaking. "Let her go, my son. She belongs to the stars." The girl looked back one last time. Her eyes glowing like twin stars, she whispered, "I will come back." And then the light wrapped around her, lifting her gently into the air. The boy reached out with tears streaming. The father held him close, the ship hummed. The light carried her away, higher and higher, until she vanished into the vast sky. The night became silent again, the forest still, the cabin dark. The boy buried his face in his father's chest. Sobbing softly, the father held him tight, his own eyes wet, his heart torn between loss and pride. Above them, the stars shined brighter, as if watching, as if promising that the story was not over. The boy held the crystal close. It glowed faintly still, a reminder, a promise, a bond that distance could not break. The father stood tall, looking at the sky, his voice quiet but strong. "She came into our lives with nothing, yet gave us everything. She taught us hope, she taught us courage, and though she is gone, her light remains," and so their lives moved forward. No longer empty, no longer silent, for a wealthy man had learned the value of love. A lonely boy had found his strength, and an alien girl had returned to the stars, leaving behind a bond that would never die. The story was not an ending. It was a new destiny, waiting among the stars.